All right, howdy, kinfolk. Welcome back to the second episode of our original Old Gods of Appalachia RPG adventure, Blood Moon in Baker's Gap. Um, Thank you all for joining us again. We had to take a little break there, but now we're back for session 2. Last time, in our first session of Old Gods of Blood Moon in Baker's Gap, we had the party sort of had to convene, so it took us a little bit of time. Everyone got to introduce themselves and describe their characters, which I did get to lay art over those in post. So go back to the first episode. You'll see some pictures of everybody's characters. We started with, I believe, Nakamo was the first one. Nakamo, pardon, was the first one that arrived at the fabled Walker house. And was greeted by Marcy Walker, who, not being from the Gap, he did not quite know. And soon followed by Sheriff Dean, who was in town at the behest of the Sheriff of Baker's Gap, as well as Johnny, a local of the Gap, and who happened upon Jebediah on his way to the house, and he sort of helped him get there without arousing too much suspicion. And then finally, Mr. Elijah Granger came up on his, I thought it was so funny, his horse and cart. I did not realize he had, but it's still so cool. And y'all find out not long after convening at the Walker house that you had all apparently been drawn there for the same reason. And you eventually come to find apparently having different parts of the same dream. You guys had a good bit of conversation about this, and we're going to say that at one point y'all sat around the fire and, spoke about your parts of the dream. We're going to go back and record that as a flashback another time. So y'all had a conversation with Marcy Walker over supper, and she told y'all a few things. She told you guys that she had been expecting company, but didn't really know how many. And she did seem genuinely unaware of why y'all were there in general, only that you were going to be there and that you could be helpful to her. And the only real task she gave you guys was to take a supply basket to the Clutch, which is a squatter's encampment out in the Gap. Y'all questioned her about some things, and just generally tried to get a better beat on her. She did seem to have information she really wouldn't expect a recluse to have. And when questioned about that, she physically could not talk about her friends, she called them. Y'all ended up having to stay the night in the Walker house, as it was too late to get back to the Clutch and then back to the Gap. And in which y'all some of you moving around in and of the night, had a brief encounter with what you assumed to be one of Marcy Walker's friends. And then we left off with you all eventually returning to bed, maybe not getting a lot of sleep, but for the first night in many moons, having no dreams. Does anybody have any questions or things they would like to add?
No.
Well, with that, I am forced to advise that viewers' discretion is advised. And we can get started. Moons before some of our kinfolk have discovered the little town of Baker's Gap, Tennessee, our story begins when a woman offers a young girl a knife, old as the dark, and promises her salvation. The girl pulls the knife through the guts of that lake bass, just as she'd been told, and isn't quite old enough to understand the cold chill of bloodlust that rolls over her. The oily corpse of that gutted animal grows eyes all along its body, and blood pools in the water as it comes to a violent, viscera-filled roil. She pulls the bass from the water, and with all her strength she tosses it out into the middle of the lake. The impact of that little creature on the water sounds like a full-grown body dropped from the treetops. The ripples erase the reflection of the stars from the lake, and slowly, they're replaced with tiny pinpricks of red light. New and unfamiliar stars from a sky filled with darkness and blood. She tells herself again she's just doing what she's told, doing what needs to be done for the salvation of her little family. And around the Appalachians, our kinfolk begin to dream. Let's put a little pause in there so I can put the intro video in there. Make life easier on myself. All right, y'all. We will begin the next day in the Walker house. You all do wake up, the sun coming over the horizon, with probably the best night of sleep that you've had in some time. And it's a nice, easy kind of wake up out of the stupor of sleep. Except Johnny and Dean, you both feel something kind of sticky on your lips. And a little bit on your chest, and both of you wake up to find that you have had a pretty moderate nosebleed in and of the night. It's over your lips, it's on your chest. You can see it like pooled, stained on the pillow. You feel a little rough. You feel, sort of like you might have had too much to drink the night before, which may be odd for some of you because I don't think all of you drank. But you'll see an alarming amount of blood. And to kick things off, I'm sure the first thing that both of you sort of think back to is your encounter in the night with one of Marcy's friends. And both of you remember things this way, but it's very weird. So when you guys go back to think, it's almost like the mental equivalent of picking at a scab on a skint knee when your mind slides over these memories. And it's very weird for you, Dean, because intellectually, you saw this thing run up and almost as if caress Johnny's face, but when your mind grates over those memories, you are in Johnny's place. You see it rushing at you and you can feel its breath on your ear, even though you know it did not happen that way. But this morning, when you guys wake up, instead of the awful whispering that you heard last night, you hear a voice. I can't find a pre-recorded voice, so that didn't happen today. I lost it somewhere. And this time you can make out the words. Blood and darkness. Blood and darkness encroach. Close the wound. Kill the prophet.
Everyone heard that, or just Johnny and Dean?
That is what they remember of last night.
What was the first part?
Okay.
Blood and darkness encroach.
Blood and darkness. It's brutal.
Are we all in the same
That's what I was getting ready. You guys can, you two can hear your new friends, your acquaintances moving around in the rooms, probably coming out into the hallways. You each would have had your own rooms because she's got quite a few. But at this point, I imagine is when you all sort of start coming out of your bedrooms. Some of you maybe with blood on you. I don't know that you could wash up in the room. The bathrooms are probably mostly communal.
I'm assuming there'd be like a little basin tub or whatever. Like the little pitcher,
Indeed.
Yeah, I would definitely try to get cleaned up a little bit. I assume I wouldn't have slept in my coveralls, so at least I have a change of clothes, but I'm also going to assume my face is probably still, especially with having like a big burly beard, like it's going to be hard to clean that all out without getting somewhere where I can actually see it and do it.
you all emerge from your rooms around roughly the same time. And it's sort of up to you guys how you'd like to proceed.
I'll look around at everybody, and then I'll look for Dean. And once I find him, I'll say, "Now, Sheriff, that happened last night, right?"
I do believe it did, friend.
You look about as rough as I feel. I imagine I'm not doing much better.
Did you have any problems when you woke up?
Well, besides a copious amount of blood, no, I don't guess.
Like a nosebleed? I also woke up with a lot of dried blood in my bed.
Looked like it could have been more than a nosebleed. I guess I'm glad my head's not light.
Something about this house I don't like, Johnny. I can't quite tell you what it is.
Well, it's a good thing we're planning on getting scooting today anyway, huh?
Amen to that, brother. Let's see if Miss Mercy has some coffee around here.
Yeah, needed to track her down anyway. Seeing something in her house that don't seem normal. I'll head downstairs to see if I can find everybody else, and as he said, hopefully a cup of coffee somewhere.
There we go. If no one else has anything to say to their acquaintances, kinfolk, y'all do make your way down to the foyer that you there was like a lounge area foyer that y'all spent most of the evening in yesterday evening. You do see that Marcy has set up a somewhat smaller table in the foyer area and has coffee freshly brewed for everybody, seemingly already awake. And so as you guys filter down the stairs, she'll smile at everyone. She'll say, "Well, hope you all slept well. Glad to have some company in the house for the first time in a little bit."
Nice to spend the night under a roof. We appreciate your hospitality.
Of course. It's welcome most any time. We'll need a little heads up. Make sure y'all don't get knocked on your butt by the wards out there.
Did you plant
Please help.
those, by the way? The wards, I mean.
So she'll gesture to the table of coffee and be like, free of charge. Help yourselves. She'll look at Nakamo. Yes, I placed those. Took a mighty good bit of practicing to learn to make them that well, but
You're a very talented woman. Such magics would keep many people safe. Magics I hope to become more familiar with in my time in Baker's Gap.
there's more than a couple of ways to do that. Just keep your eyes open and your heart clear.
Nakama will happily have a cup of coffee and look at the gathered party to see what our plan of action is.
I'll gruffly make me a cup of coffee and sit down at the table, I guess, across from Marcy. I'll say, well, you said that it was nice to have guests, first time in a while. You wouldn't happen to know who them people were I saw in the hallway last night, now would you?
People plural?
There were two, right? There was just one?
That's just one.
Yes.
Okay. Person, excuse me. A little lightweight this morning.
Thing.
If you can call it that.
So she'll sip her coffee and give you this sort of like, it's the kind of smile people give when they're pretending nothing's up, when they're sort of acting like you haven't asked something pointed. She'll say, Well, I'm definitely not the only one that stays in the house at any given time. Are y'all all right?
Well, this one had I think horns, I think claws. I'm not sure. I'm okay, but you might have a hard time cleaning the linens upstairs. I apologize for that.
This was a dream you had?
Ain't no
There was no
dream.
dream for him. I was there with him.
And you suffered the same consequences?
I did. Kind of put a damper on the night since it's the first night in a while that I actually didn't have the dream.
Likewise.
You spent half of us snooping around anyway, Sheriff. No need to be shy. I assure you, I meant you no harm, and I highly doubt that it meant you no harm.
Wait,
You said horns and claws?
If I'm remembering right now, my memory's a little fuzzy. Every time I try to reach back in there, it feels like I'm picking at an open wound, one that's trying to close up.
Black dress, black eyes.
With the
Sounds
tights
right.
underneath.
That's pretty good. Dean, so this is going to be an intellect roll. I'm essentially sort of asking for like an insight roll. If anyone has any training in, I would accept like seeing through deception. I would accept human emotion or interaction. There's anything close to that. Not saying she's lying per se, but anyone has any skills pertaining to reading people, speak now.
I have social interaction.
Hindered, right?
I am pretty sure too.
It says I? I don't know what the I is.
Inability, so it's hindered.
Inability. Okay, then yes.
It don't sound like it. So we're gonna go with Sheriff Dean because he was quizzing Marcy earlier. I need you to go ahead and make an intellect roll for me, please.
Hold on. There we go. Roll 20 was being weird. Boop.
Let me see. 12.
Be a 12.
I'd say with a 12, all you really gather is that she seems, at least aware of the thing. You know, she doesn't seem surprised to have guessed the description. Have to admit, it's not one that's like to show itself to people. Might curious, but
That part's interesting.
as long as you're all okay, I reckon everything's all right. Y'all plan on heading out to Clutch today? Is there anything else I can do for y'all in the meantime?
That's not,
Is there anyone in particular we should deliver this to? Particular leader of the clutch.
Last week she told you Bertha Norris.
Birds and
I'll
Artists,
put that in
yes.
chat again.
I was thinking about this earlier. Where was the most recent mauling? Where did that take place?
Oh boy. Okay, so fun DM time. I have been hiding some information from some of you who would know it.
Because I was just
Johnny,
like, I'm here to investigate a death. I probably should do that.
you are here. So Johnny and Dean, you would both know that the most recent murder happened between the town and the reservoir. It's the closest murder that has happened so far to the town anyway. Dean, you probably don't know as much about it because it probably would have just happened as you arrived. Johnny, you know that Tanner Finch had been found mauled outside of town between the reservoir and the town. That's the most recent one. We're probably talking 2 days ago now, maybe 3, including this day y'all just slept.
Found in the reservoir, you say?
Between the reservoir and the town, and that's just important because it's the closest that a mauling has been found. Most of them have been a distance outside of the town,
I see.
out in the wilderness.
Before we get up and leave, I'm just gonna try to, with my eyes, ask Dean if we should talk about what I assume we heard. We didn't really talk about the fact that we both heard the voice or the clarification in the voice, but I think if anyone's gonna know anything about it, it's gonna be Marcy. So I'm not opposed to just dropping it.
Well, if that's the case, I'll kind of give you a nod back. Be like, yeah, that actually is a good idea.
One more thing, Miss Walker. I'm struggling with the memories a bit, but something kind of crystal clear popped in my mind. A voice was trying to tell me something. Blood and darkness encroach. Close the wound, kill the prophet. Any of that mean anything to you?
It's really serious for a minute or two. I'm afraid to say that it doesn't, but if you heard something like that from that particular thing, it would behoove you to mightily heed his warning. She looks kind of worried for a second. She tells you guys, those things cannot give. It is not part of their nature. For her to have told you something, it had to take in return. I'm glad you are all right, but it doesn't speak to me lightly. It obviously knows something that I don't.
What would it want to take? What does it find valuable?
That is quite a sage-like question there, Nakamo. They take
It's
different
part of my
things.
title, I think.
Different
Yeah,
ones
I'll
take
pass it
different
to a
things.
service degree.
Different ones take different things. This one can take many things. Time, service, power, blood, sacrifice, and all its myriad forms. It's impossible to know what it could have taken from you, either of you. If you haven't noticed it, it must not have been something critical.
He says with a almost slight grin.
Yeah.
It's probably not important.
This really won't be relevant later. Can I
So-
use something to try to just get a look at them and see if I can tell if anything's wrong, like physically, medically?
That would be a int roll, intelligence roll.
I'm pretty
That's
good at
all the perceptions and wisdoms and stuff are all rolled into int. If you have again this wouldn't be social interaction, so I don't think it's an inability. But if you have a perception, I guess is an actual skill in the system. It would be aided. It would be not hindered. Someone help me. Eased.
Great.
And I have to spend effort beforehand. Is that correct?
For this, you do not.
Looks like a 12 or 13. Excuse me.
Let me see here. Roll 13 beats difficulty 4. Interesting. So I will say for a difficulty 4, Nakamo, they don't look. You notice that they look, like I said, they felt like a little bit like they were sick. They do look maybe a little bit like they're hungover, but not in any way you understand. You do notice that it looks like maybe their crow's feet are just a smidge longer. They look maybe just ever so slightly more mature.
I think your friend took more from you than just blood. Nakamo won't say much more in front of Marcy, but he'll make a note to mention that to them away from the house.
Well, I don't like the sound of that. It sounds to me like I'm alright. For now.
You're still walking. Speaking of, and nodding his head to the door, we should get making our way. You're a local, right, Johnny?
Yep, sure am.
Reckon you can find us our way over there?
I don't see why not. She gave us pretty clear directions, and I know my way around a bit.
Okay. Orions go real quick. She gets like I guess it would be like a notebook. I guess it wouldn't be spiral bound. It would be like leather bound, glue stitch glue. It's a good question. Yeah. It's very thin. It's not it's not a tome. It's not a big book by any means. But she will give it to you, Nakamo. She'll say, this is one of the things I started with from around these parts. And for all intents and purposes, this is like the blueprint, the crafting blueprint for kudzu jelly, which is a cypher.
Kudzu jelly.
Since you expressed interest. It is a cypher. Think of it like a health potion.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can make multiple kinds. I'll send you the stat block or here in a little bit for what they do. But you said you wanted to learn, so she said, "Here's an instruction booklet."
No, I love it.
Come back if you have any questions.
Nakamo will thank Miss Walker for both the meal and the room, but also the wisdom. And we'll make a note to try to keep an eye out for kudzu along the way to harvest.
When she says, "Come back if you have any questions," her eyes cut up over your shoulder to lock eyes on Dean, but nods at you all. There's anything else I can be of service for?
I think she's into you, Dean.
Well, on our way out, Dean will look at Marcy and Taylor's like, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday, but there's kind of some pressing matters at hand. But let's just say I'd like for you to meet my brother sometime.
I'd be honored.
And Dean will kind of tip his hat and head out the door.
Okay. Y'all get going down the road. I have a map for you guys so you can see the gap. I was hiding it from you last week.
A map of the gap. Oh my.
A map of the gap.
Gap map.
Where the hell is my map of the gap?
Over here you have sweatpants, and this is the women's section.
Stop. It seems I have not uploaded it like I thought I did. So y'all give me a second. I'll give you a map of the gap. It's going to take y'all a couple of hours. I uploaded a lot of stuff. I guess I just forgot this one. It's going to take y'all a couple of hours, handful of hours to get to the clutch. You're not across the gap, but you're about as far back into the gap as there is. That's not necessarily true. You're the furthest that anyone would want to go, per se. Not much else behind that, the gap. Why did you do that? You do know the way, Johnny, to the clutch, you know sort of roughly where it is. You know how to get close enough to it. Let me just sit here. I will show you all the gap. Here we go. The gap. I have to admit, the book does not come with like a map without all the numbers and crap on it, so I had to make that happen.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing, but Copilot took them, erased them off for me. So you guys are. I just realized y'all need to tell me where you are, or I need to tell y'all where you are because you don't know. Y'all are actually down here. I'm going to mark it on the map just so in the very south down here. This is to where the Walker house is.
Okay.
And the clutch is, make sure I'm not lying to y'all real quick. Make sure I'm not confused. Johnny, you know the clutch is down here at this rough little intersection. Yeah, Nakamo, that's Baker's Gap down there. But this
yeah.
this right here is the clutch.
So it's pretty
And
much
you guys
on
are
the way.
down. It is pretty much on the way. It's just pretty from Marcy's house to the Gap is several miles. I think it was like 5 or 6 miles, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. I see my little text here is going off this thing, so I can reference this one. Yeah, roughly 5-ish miles or so. So it's a good walk to get there. Plus stop on at the clutch and stuff. All right, well,
Okay.
we don't need no turn order.
I was about to ask.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else y'all need or want to do along the way or while you're still at the Walker house? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I don't think so.
Took me way too long. Took me way too long to remember how to draw a circle.
No,
Walker
I was always
house.
holding that piece. Dig.
I like it. That was pretty good. Ah! I'm eventually gonna make a eventually gonna make a little token for y'all. It's like your group picture on a token. I'm just gonna drag it all over the map. There we go. Someone smacked the Walker house down there. I appreciate it. So it's a good, it looks like 3-mile walk by road to the clutch. As I eyeball this again, especially if you take that little switchback there. So y'all mosey your way through the Gap.
I like that.
You just mosey your way through the Gap. Following the road till you get to the clutch, probably close to lunchtime, maybe a little before lunchtime. Y'all got up around sunrise. A little after sunrise, however you want to think about it. And you see, sorry, y'all working on the map. We're going to a new map now. I hate to break it to you. We'll come back to that one, I'm sure. Y'all see the clutch. So it is like a wooden shanty town, a field of black Koshish sort of like spreads off to the right of it and up almost to what this picture doesn't do it justice. You guys see lots of people moving around the perimeter and very obviously in the middle of constructing that wooden wall you see in this art. It is not by any means as complete as the art makes it look. The art makes it look sort of dilapidated. It is most obviously in construction. You see lots of people in the act of attempting to construct it. And as you move closer, you set off down the hill towards the squatters' encampment. You see mostly women, almost entirely women, standing up these not big, but standing up planks to the best of their ability. You guys see sawdust floating through the air, and there is obviously piles of loose timber sort of off in various places. You guys don't have to do a lot of wandering as you come down closer to the clutch. I love how Spotify keeps quitting because I keep talking too much. As you guys come down closer, you can hear, the calls and shouts of construction, but you hear one voice sort of ringing out over the others, and it's not too difficult to flow your way with the traffic. You get some looks, particularly some we've never seen you before kind of stares. Johnny and maybe Elijah are somewhat more recognizable, being locals or having been locals. but it doesn't take you long to get to the loudest voice over the cacophony. What? Sorry, I said do. And you guys see a upper middle-aged woman standing on a crate, calling out directions, sort of organizing the chaos, if you will. There she is.
Ooh.
Sorry for the grainy picture. It's not too difficult to gather. This is probably Bertha Norris. She definitely seems to be the one in charge.
Who's got the basket?
Any of us have the basket.
Uh,
Whoever wants to give it to her.
on that
Or if
note,
you just want to sling it down and leave.
as we approach the town, I'll just sort of look at everybody and I'll say, I get you here, all right, but I ain't much one for pleasantries. I'm kind of to the point. So if any of you wants to talk, you can take this, and I'll hold the basket up.
And no one makes a move. I think.
If you
I
ain't,
ain't particularly good at talking, but I'll do it if someone needs to.
I mean, none of y'all good at it either. I'll just give her the basket. Just understanding I'm probably gonna be awkward about it.
I'm
You have
good at
the
it.
peaceful talk to strangers.
That's fair.
We'll give it to the guy.
If that's it.
Looking for
So we
Bertha
just-
Norris.
If you ask one of the women working, she will point you towards the woman standing on the crates, giving directions. She'll say, "That's Bertha. I know she's kind of ferocious, but if you got something for her, she's the one that'll delegate it out."
Hey, great. Just thank her and go deliver the basket to Bertha.
Bertha will, if you're just going by yourself. Bertha will size you up a little bit, but
Let's have
she
with them. I don't want them to. Yeah, let them have backup.
Yeah, we'll go together.
Yeah, I mean, so when you all approach, obviously you're sticking out a little bit, and so she'll stop calling, she'll step down off the crate, and she'll look at you, I would say, warily. She might be frowning a little bit, she might look a little grumpy, but as you approach, she'll say, "Is there something I can?" She turns and looks. She says, she sees the basket, kind of in her hand. She's like, "I beg your pardon, but what the hell is that?"
I believe his name is Eli, if I remember correctly. If I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Eli.
Bertha. And you are? She cuts her eyes at you, Nakamo. Obviously not from around here.
Nakamo.
We're friends, I guess acquaintances of Marcy Walker. She asked us to bring you this. And I would present the basket.
She will take the basket from you, but then she turns and spits.
She's got a dip in her mouth spit, or
no.
like
Uh,
curse that woman.
yeah, like spitting at Marcy's name. She'll say, we take everything we can get here, but I reckon you can't trust her further than you can throw her. She's an awful big woman. And just for reference, she is fairly tall. She's, probably 6'3" or 4.
It's a little surprising for me for you to be so in need of the donations and yet so ungrateful.
I guess you wouldn't have heard of it. That woman is a snake, a witch. Can't be trusting witches now. I figure you already know that.
But you can trust the gift of a witch.
Oh, don't worry, I'll be going through it. And to be honest with you, I got mouths to feed. When it comes between having prejudice or feeding mouths, I know which one I'm going to pick.
Fair enough.
I believe that witch has fed many, all of us included. I'm kind of curious. You have quite a sizable encampment here. How many people call the clutch home? Roundabout.
Beginning of August, it was maybe 25, and now we're probably closing in on 40.
Is it the end of August? I don't know.
I'm sorry, I meant like the beginning of autumn, and it's probably like early to mid autumn now.
Gotcha.
Still a reason for so many people coming.
She gives you like a funny little like. She seemed to have assumed you were a local, and then at this question, maybe sort of realizing you not knowing you may not be. She'll give
Been
you.
away for a few years.
She'll kind of eye you up now. She'll say, rumor has it people been run out of house and home, but most of them got some money to move on down to Tipton or maybe even up Paradise. Some of them do anyway. We don't particularly take families here anyway. What with husbands dying and wives needing cared for, they come to a place where they get support.
It's quite a noble cause.
And your support is building walls. Gesture to the ongoing project.
Well, of course. Surely y'all have. Well, sorry, I'm trying to remember that Nakamo does not know. Nakamo does not know this, and she would know Nakamo doesn't know this. You haven't heard already about the wolves in the gap? What else am I supposed to do to protect my own? They done killed, what, 2 people a third night or 2 ago?
3 now. It's actually why I'm here, Miss Norris. Sheriff Dean Sampson. Sheriff Hodges called me in here to investigate these killings here. He seems to think there's nothing a little bit more than just wolves.
Well, that sounds right ridiculous. We live out in the woods, in the gap, Sheriff. Obviously, a pack of them got too big and a little too big for their britches and figured out they found a new source of food. Once the deputy catches him on one of his nightly outings, it should be all over with.
Get a lot of animal attacks like that around here?
Not in my lifetime.
That's a long time.
Oh.
She curses at you in Cherokee. And it's not a kind curse. Like, it's one that growing up you would have understood, like, Peace family did not say that to one another in jest, sort of. Had some vigor behind it. Some vinegar.
Meaning no disrespect, Miss Norris, but if Sheriff Hodges called me here, there's probably something a little more to it than that. Is there anything you might know at all about any strange happenings in the area? Anything you might remember, or
The only thing strange is what I've heard about them TMC men showed up instead of Tanner's replacement.
TMC, the mining company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would see Eli probably kind of shifty eyes back away from the conversation a little bit. He doesn't have good feelings towards TMC.
His replacement was supposed to be here today, or well, not yesterday, and apparently a bunch of suits showed up, said they had to evaluate things first. Been buying up property, if as much as one can buy up property in 12 hours, you know. You can tell she doesn't. She looks sort of like they hear a lot of drama and gossip from the Gap that she sort of poofs at because it's usually just drama and gossip, and she's out here trying to help a clutch of survivors survive. She doesn't seem to make much of it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we also heard that some men in suits were buying people train tickets, yeah? To get them here?
You did. Yeah, you heard some men in suits showed up, and you heard train tickets were hard to get. You have correctly correlated some things.
I want to say you mentioned something about them being the ones to buy them up, but
He said
Maybe
that
I-
I would have known that as somebody who lived there. Sounded like an observation I would have made. I don't know if I assume we would have vocalized it, so yeah, that could be common knowledge, but it was like something you said in passing that my character would know.
Wonder if the men buying up all the train tickets are them ones buying up all the land. Question is, why are they shepherding everyone here?
So on that observation,
Is that
Nicole,
what
I
they're
guess I
doing?
would.
Or are they just buying tickets in general? Are they shipping everyone here?
Guess you have to go into town to find out. If you ask Bertha, she'll say, "I ain't quite sure. I don't really go into town all that much. I just know what I've heard, and it's never quarter as bad in town as some of the women that come out here to make it out to be." And Nakamo, if you kind of glance around, you don't see like whole families. You do see a decent handful of children and a bunch of women, but no families. Which doesn't exactly track with the idea of like whole families being pushed into the clutch.
I don't want to be too nosy with Bertha, but I feel like I feel like these are going to be the people that get drawn into the river or into the lake and their throats slit. I feel like this is where they're gathering the sacrifices, and I don't know of any way to convey that that's not going to just cause panic or a negative reaction. But I don't know. Just voicing a theory.
Well, I guess one more question before we go. It might seem a little bit random, Miss Norris. But you been having any strange dreams lately?
No, sir. I ain't hardly got time to sleep, and when I do, I sleep like the dead. Listen, if y'all got the time, we could use some help. A couple of extra hands around, we'd get this thing done before dark. You ain't got to stay that long, mind you. Couple hours work.
And that's when you notice that Johnny missed the whole conversation because he saw all these women carrying wood and hammering up boards, and he's been working on the fence this whole time.
He's already doing it.
Yeah, that kind of will help out too.
I mean, we're already here.
I would say, if y'all sort of just disperse and begin to help with the construction, she looks much less her countenance becomes much less grumpy towards you guys.
I like to think that she doesn't give us that pointed like y'all should help us out, but she's just like, well, I guess I'm gonna put this board up, and it's just doing it wrong intentionally, so that we'll just step in and be like, no, you gotta set that, gotta make sure that's perfectly perpendicular. Needs to be 6 foot studs. Come on.
Just like a man, have to take over. She thinks to herself. She will. Well, and like I said, y'all aren't going to be there long. A couple hours. You're going to leave in time to go. Y'all do this with the understanding y'all are going to leave in time to get back to the gap before dark. But while y'all are working, she will come over to you, Nakamo, while you're sort of separated, while you're in the middle of working. She'll say, "Listen here, boy. We don't see many of your type around here. How far did you come from?"
Quite a ways. 800 miles or so. Came from eastern Oklahoma. Just got into town yesterday.
That's a long walk.
Be my kind, but you've picked up the language pretty well.
Actually, Nakamo, it doesn't take you much looking to realize that she's now looking you in the face closer. She is almost certainly half or more Cherokee.
Yeah, I was looking at the dark hair and the face, and part of me was like, wait a minute, she looks just like Mama Didi.
Yeah, she does.
But she'll kind of look at you, say, we don't get a lot to come back from, she spits again, the new homeland. Is something that brought you out here, boy?
Trying to find a place for our people here. Not too unlike what you're doing for these women. I meant no offense at your walls, just curious to me.
Well, I'm glad you've noticed. And if you look around Nakamo, it's not mostly, half Cherokee, but there's a very good number of people that obviously have Cherokee descent. She'll say, this is welcome to all women in need. This encampment is, but I do my best to keep our niche carved out here, and we could use support. Keep us in mind when you get into the town.
I'll do that, Miss Bertha. Is there any other supplies you need for the survivors besides the rations that Miss Walker sent over?
Well, assuming y'all are going that way, there is a favor I might ask. There's a hardware store in town. If and y'all could get some extra supplies, we could build extra defenses. The wall's going to be completed, but palisades, spike sticks, things of that nature.
Are you thinking like a turret at the front door of the club and then another one at the basement level, or?
Deadpan stare of a boomer who has no idea what you said.
She gets a nosebleed as her face suddenly just looks like the general.
We obviously don't need it to finish the wall, but anything extra you can bring back to us is highly appreciated.
Just sort of shout over my shoulder while still working. I'm like, yeah, I think I know a guy. See what we could do.
Yeah, I think
You'll
help on the
before
wall
she
for a
leaves,
bit.
she'll kind of lean in for she'll say, so I got to know, how many of them white boy skulls did you crack on your way in here?
Nah, that's classified.
Okay. Well, she gives you this look like you're sort of like you're teasing her a little bit, and she'll go on about her business. At some point, y'all are brought some tea. While you're working, you get a little break, and y'all spend the rest of your couple of hours there helping them put up their palisade walls. With your help, they managed to get a much larger chunk done otherwise than they would have today. And as you're leaving, Bertha seems pretty satisfied. She says, we're almost certainly going to finish today. That is much appreciated. Thank y'all much. Now, y'all better be on your way before it gets dark. You don't want to be wandering the gap at night.
Not with wolves on the prowl. Let's make our way to town.
To town we go then.
You down, you go then. We'll go back here for just a second, just because we can.
What's
I think what we're... let's see here. Frickety frack.
Coco
I
just
keep doing.
walking along.
I forgot his name was Coco. Sorry, I messed something up here. I'll fix it later. 1 second. I'm tired of this shit moving around on me. Y'all are going to head back to the gap. Try stuff. We're going to take a break now or later. All right. So go ahead and cut us to a break screen, Josh. We're going to take a quick break because this is a good narrative spot. Take a break and then we'll come back. We may take one more, but I would like to start doing 2 shorter breaks if we can. If we can't, it's just an early break.